Greetings from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. It's the 29th of March 2024 and it's 10:12 a.m. It's also Good Friday if you're a Christian, and it's also the Shabbat tonight if you're a Jew. So we've arrived on a very special, potent, spiritual blip in the space-time continuum, depending on your tradition, cultural background, religious inclinations, spirituality, cultural motifs. Am I right? I've had a very spiritual week, really, with some very unusual and at times alarming encounters, but Mama T, raised by maniacs the way I was, surfed through all of it quite admirably, and some of it had potent messages for me, and I feel quite grateful and soul nourished, and happy that I'm riding my own seam of life and my own psychedelic dreaming, trying to make my way home eventually one day at my appointed time. But in the meantime, living my best life, loving my best life, and grateful and happy to be surrounded by other souls who love me too and treat me with kindness. Thank you to those beautiful souls. And I woke up feeling quite clear-headed. I'm not been out of bed all that long. I'm dressed in, that's why I look like I'm naked. I'm not naked. I'm just wearing my sarong. I haven't got properly dressed yet. I still need to have a shower and wash my hair again. And I just, at the moment, I can't be bothered. And I felt inspired to carry on with my videos. And I've still got sleep in my eyes for the love of all the gods. Oh, that's a bit slatternly, isn't it? Making videos with sleep in your eyes. Anyway, the joy of being a single woman and a shaman, a wild woman, is I get to live my life how I want to live it, and in my own time frames when I'm good and ready, and I love it like that actually. I love not having to answer to anyone or jump 10 feet tall for anyone like a flea in a 3-ring circus. So it's love me, love my wildness and freedom. It's not really that bad. I don't do anything extreme, people. I just sometimes, take my time to get dressed, or take my time to synapse the old brain and function accordingly. But I'm synapsing quite well because I had a good sleep. Thank you, God. I only got up twice last night. That was a good night, and there were, fairly long blocks in between of solid sleep. So I'm starting to get better. Please God, it keeps going this way. It's been a long time coming. Right, just going to take my iPhone out of its case because I'm having trouble with it leaning on the power button, and then if anything just slightly touches the power button, I'm having trouble with losing the whole bloody, the video on my laptop flips off. We can't be having that. We just can't. So this is my third attempt to make a video because it blipped off twice already. So it's going to be one of those days where I'm not actually all that highly functioning, or boo-boos happen. So hopefully we'll get through this video in one go instead of my 2 or 3 part videos, right? Oh, poor Mama T. Anyway, it doesn't really matter in the broad scheme of things. So I've got Charlie out in the garden. Put her out because it's another beautiful day, which I'm so grateful for. Sunshine and blue skies. Oh yes, I did want to talk about this. Almost forgot. So I woke up this morning from a very, very intense, one of my very intense psychedelic dreams in bright technicolor. It was like living in real life. And it was a little bit of a weird and slightly traumatizing dream, because I was being driven around in a taxi driven by an older man. He looked vaguely familiar, like perhaps someone from my childhood or a composite of someone from my childhood. And I was sitting in the back seat of the vehicle, and I was trying to get him to take me to an address where, in the dream, I obviously hadn't lived there for very long, because I couldn't remember how to get there. And so the driver in the front was getting a bit frustrated. And so I said to him, I'm trying to remember what the address was. Funnily enough, it felt like it was in Brighton here on the north side, which is where my former elderly friend and teacher, Mrs. Frances Bernstein, used to live. But anyway, we're driving around and randomly out of the blue, the driver, the man, says to me, oh, by the way, if you don't figure out where we're going soon, I'm just going to pull over somewhere and I'm going to rape you. Yes, I dream of being raped. It's all my fantasies come true, darlings. It's just what I want to hear when I'm asleep, right? No, trigger. But anyway, in the dream, true to form, I tried to open the car door and jump out. So I partially get the door open, and but the door slammed in on itself. And I said, so then I had to think quickly on my feet in the dream. I said to him, well, you won't be raping me. He says, yeah, I'm going to rape you. I'm going to really enjoy raping you. It was a real fucking nightmare, you know. So, but in the dream I stayed very, very calm, which I could see had him a bit confused. And I said, you're going the wrong way anyway. I said, where I live, the address you were supposed to take me to, I said, it's semi-rural, it's further back in the country somewhere. And I said, here we are going around the coast. And we turned a corner, and this was a good omen. This part, not about being raped, that's fucking foul. But the good omen in the dream was we drove around this coast, and there was this bright blue sea. Oh, it was cerulean blue. It was the brightest, most magnificent blue, and the waves were a bit choppy, and it was all, and there was a little island out in the sea, which I don't think there was an island out in that vista in that area. So I don't know. It's a dream. Work with me, people. It's symbology, and things get mishmashed and thrown in. But anyway, there was a small island out there, and I was actually looking at the colour of the sea, and because that is something that in real life can revive me, especially when I'm feeling depressed or down. And so I'm looking at this ocean. I said, oh, this is just spectacular views on a day when I'm being threatened by some motherfucker to be raped, right? So, don't ever do that to me, mate. It'll go bad for you. There will be a murder and it won't be me. So anyway, so I'm looking out this ocean, and he continues driving, and I'm sitting in the back thinking, what am I going to do? How am I going to survive this situation? As I would do in real life, actually. Anyway, so I said to him, oh, you think you're going to rape me, do you? He thinks it's some kind of a joke by this stage, because evil fucking demonic-ridden dickhead. I'm trying to think who he reminded me of. He did remind me of someone I knew in my childhood. In the dream he was older, but older than me now, so in his 60s. But in real life, who did he remind me of? It'll come to me. But I don't really want to focus on that dream because it's so putrid. But anyway, So in the dream, I gain mastery over the situation, which is a very good thing to do in a dream. It's actually a very good thing to do in real life if you're in a dangerous situation like that. But anyway, I turned and I said to him, oh well, I said, I kept repeating the address, which I can't remember what the address is now. But that must have been important because I repeated it 2 or 3 times. Anyway, if I'm meant to remember, it'll blip back into my consciousness during the day. Often my dreams will flash back to me if there's an important component that I'm meant to remember. So anyway, we're driving around Keep Drive. I'm looking at the scenery and I said to him, I said, by the way, mate. He goes, oh yeah, what's that? I said, you won't be raping me. I said, if it gets to that situation, I will be raping you. And he just sort of, still driving, sort of looks in the rear vision mirror. I could see him actually go a bit white. Didn't expect me to turn the tables on him. He says, oh yeah, that might be a bit of fun. I went, huh. And then I kind of woke up from the dream thinking, oh well, that's just so weird, isn't it? That's so typical of my subconscious gaining mastery over the psychopath. In the real world, I tend usually but not always, in a dangerous situation to gain mastery too. I'm only repeating it and sharing it with YouTube because there's a message in it somewhere, kind of a warning to be cautious of what company I'm keeping and obviously getting into strange cars. And here's the irony, I never take taxis or Ubers. Very rarely have I taken a taxi when I've had to come home in the old days from the casino. I don't like being driven around by strange men. I don't know who they are. I don't know their background. I don't know their attitudes to women. I don't know their intentions. I don't know them. I don't get in their fucking car. I drive my own car to the club and I drive my own car home. And even then, some weeks ago, some mofo out on the street out near the Victory, because I was parked in Charlotte Street, tried to get in my car. And I was like, oh, that's going to go real good for you. He couldn't get in because I locked it, but it was a bit freaky, right? We live in a society where if you're a woman, you're not completely safe, and sometimes even in marriage you get, well, it's a form of rape, not necessarily a brutal rape, but lying in bed with someone who didn't love you, who constantly stabbed you in the back, and then having to have, marital relations with them is being raped, by the way. It's disgusting and dishonouring and foul, and they wonder why you don't enjoy their sexual prowess or lack thereof, or their company anymore, because you just look at them and you just think, oh, I just want to vomit a little bit in my mouth every time I see your ugly face, right? So treat your women with honour and respect and integrity and, true romantic, agape, respecting love, and you'll have a wonderful sex life for the rest of your life. Treat your women like garbage, and all you're going to foment is trauma and hate and more hate until something finally snaps. Anyway, I'm looking forward. It's weird that I had that dream, right? Because I'm actually looking forward to finding who my true loving partner is going to be in the future, and I'm looking forward to a healthy, happy, vibrant, loving sex life with a man who adores me, because I won't settle for anything less. I've had less. I've had way, way, way less. Way, way less. And it's not how I'll be. It's not the future I'm planning for myself as I slowly get older, and I'm wanting a beautiful life with a beautiful man by my side who adores me, and that's how it's going to be, babies. Either that or quite happy to stay on my own for another 29 years. It gets a bit lonely sometimes, a bit fragile sometimes, especially going through the COVID by myself. But it's sometimes it's the only way to fly. Even in my dreams, being threatened like that, it's not fucking cool, by the way. But the imagery is about being put upon or used in some way, or feeling, potentially about to be violated in my core. And I did indeed have a kind of a violation with the with the urodynamics testing, having to go into my nether region. So I suppose the dream is perhaps still a hangover of processing from that, because it was a bit of a humbling experience, quite frankly, not pleasant. And although the nurses were wonderful to me, don't get me wrong, but it's still, it's your body integrity, your body autonomy. And I was quite ill later in the day too. I was a bit ill yesterday too, but I'm coming back from all of that. And the good thing is we now know that Botox is not really an option, so I can carry on with the drug I'm on, and fingers crossed it helps me. Please, God. As I can tolerate getting out of bed, 6 to 20 times a night, but it's not that, it's the lack of sleep that kills me. Anyway, I slept well, and I even dreamed, even though it was a nightmare. I'm glad when I dream. Dreaming is very important to me because it's how my brain processes. Sometimes gives me important information about people in my life too, although that person in that dream is not in my life. It was very odd. I'll have to think about who that really was and who that implies, what significance it is. But anyway. So I read from Even Date, Memories, 29th of March 2024. Ancestors and progeny, here I am, stuck in the middle with you. No jokers or clowns were killed in the writing of this journal. Life goes on, even when Mama T had to kill entire volumes of her own self. And then I posted a beautiful meme. If someone shows you their true colours, don't try to repaint them. Very, very important life lesson there. God knows I'm a great artist. Have I tried to colour people in or colour people up and make them more wondrous and beautiful than they ever deserved to be? Because they were vicious, low-life, scum motherfuckers, but I was in denial, right? Oh, were they beautiful in my eyes till the shards came off. And once you know, don't ever try to repaint them. 29th of March 2023. Inspired by metalsmith Liz Burt, I am trying wax carving this afternoon. I can't afford, just now, the wax carving ring sizing mandrel, so I took her advice to do it with sandpaper on a ring sizer. She's a wonderful teacher. She's taught me a few things in recent months, or during the past year, since I befriended her in the Women's Metalsmith Collective group, which is an amazing group if you're a woman and you want to learn silversmithing or other, work with brass and copper and gold. Join that group on Facebook. It's got thousands of women all over the world, and many of them are actually professional jewellers who quite willingly share tips on how to do things, and it's just amazing. I'm so grateful for that. I really am. And they're so supportive, and they don't make you feel like you're stupid if you don't know something or you can't do something. They just sit with you till you get it right. And thank you, my beautiful angels, my earth angels in that group. And I never had much support in life in achieving my goals in anything, not in love, not in business, not in anything. Everything I've achieved, the few little things I've achieved, I had to do dancing as fast as I can, literally on the coalface, like a Kali goddess, holding up trophies. And I had to do it on my own, and there was no support and no mentoring, no protection for me actually. So it was astonishing, in the last few years when I started the silversmithing journey, to see how many people were more than willing to share tips and advice and get me going on that new hobby. It was just soul nourishing and astonishing and delightful. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the support and the love that's been poured to me over the decades, by the way. I wanted a thicker ring, but I made a mess of cutting the wax ring off, even though I had the special wax saw blades. There's a bit of an art to those because they're a spiral. Anyway, I'm still learning, still got lots to learn and practice. Yeah, here I write, I guess I will need to practice this, laughing my ass off, but I am excited to try something new and different. I posted a photo of my my wax carving, cutting efforts. I'm laughing because you can see I haven't got a freaking clue what I'm doing, but it's okay. It's okay. It was a first attempt actually. Here's what I was left with. Oh, wait a minute. So, Mama T, learning new skills is a terrifying thing because of my anxiety and my trauma issues. I had to sometimes push myself through and keep fighting for myself, because the tendency, of course, is after years of ignominy is to just fucking give up, and it was too important to give up on. Just like if I ever find a truly loving partner, I'll be tenaciously holding on to that, not wanting to give up, which I tend to do when I fall in love too. I just hope that the next time, I bring a sexual partner into my life, that they love me as much as I love them, and it's true and it's joyous and it's nurturing, caring, protective and sweet. Because I don't want to tenaciously hold on to a dead love or a false love like I've done in the past ever again. It's empty and it's soul destroying and it's fucking putrid, and I don't want that ever again for myself. So I'm hoping against hope that when things manifest, they will manifest beautifully and wholesomely and respectfully, and the love that's being flown to me at the current moment in time in recent weeks has indeed been wholesome and respectful and beautiful. So, to my beloved one, I haven't moved forward into anything of a sexual nature because out of respect and someone's unavailability, but the affection and fondness we have for each other is indeed real. Been friends a long time and been supporting each other in a way in the music scene a long time, and it's nice to get acknowledgement that I am loved, not necessarily in a sexual love affair kind of way, but I am loved, and I recognise that So I'm grateful and I'm happy, and you know, having a good friend who adores me and treats me with honour and respect is better than 1,000 frickin' in and out, blow and go, blue ass fly blown, featured lovers like I had in the past. Well, not that there was 1,000. My goodness, I married my first boyfriend, so didn't exactly get around people. I caught up a little bit in my 40s, but even then, there's not thousands of lovers in my life. There might be thousands of lovers, wannabe lovers, fantasizing about being in my life, but I'm joking about that. That won't be happening anyway. A bit more tunnelling inside to do than it should fit my forefinger, the fickle finger of fate. I'm still deciding what design to carve into it. I'm thinking the Hebrew verse, if I am only for me, who am I, by Hillel, but I don't think I have the skills to fit all the words in, or a simple Star of David. Or I love Liz Burt's idea of attaching faceted sapphire beads with wire so they can be cast into place. I don't know where to source those beads or if they are very expensive, but her rings are truly beautiful. They look like bunches of roses. And I did source them on eBay. They come from India. And about $300 for a string of faceted sapphires, or more depending on quality, grades, and I tend to be a bit opulent when I buy things. I like to buy the best quality things I can afford because I hate being left with second-rate shit. If I buy cheap shit, I always resent it and regret it later. So I've held off buying them because $300 is a lot of money for me, and I'm not in a hurry, If I make money down the track, start selling things, I'll be able to turn it over and buy good quality stones. So anyway, I've been thinking about that for some time, but I haven't moved in a forwards direction due to my usual level of quite dire poverty, actually. Oh, but anyway, things happen when they happen, and I astonish myself sometimes how I manage to scrape together the funds to buy things. At the moment, I'm still wanting to replace my Smith Little torch, so that could be happening, I guess, in the next few months, and I've got to focus on, practicalities, and pretty faceted sapphires can wait, right? Here I posted a photo of, I don't know if I can make that smaller, of the little parlour earrings that I recycled from my mother's vintage bracelet, and yeah, not completely happy with them, but they look okay. I'll wear them. Here's a photo of me grinning happily, wearing them with a look of real glee and triumph on my face because it wasn't easy to do. So I felt like I'd achieved something. Oh, bless. Look at that Mama T happy face. I look like I'm in love too. What day did I make those? Who was I in love with at that point in time in the space-time continuum? Last year. Was a lot of love energy around me last year. But I'm literally, look at me, I'm literally freaking glowing. Yeah, baby. My friend Nigel in New Zealand said that I'm glowing and I look wonderful. I said, I'm trying not to die, Nigel. I'm tired and sleep deprived and my bladder's not right. I'm actually quite fucking ill. He said, I've never seen you look so good. The man's known me for 20 years, seen me on camera for 20 years. So I'll take that at face value. Apparently death becomes me, darlings. Also, when we spoke, it was the other night. I'd just finished a weekend of wild dancing, which was soul innovating but was fatiguing. So I guess I did probably very likely look quite good because I had jounced all my meridians back into place, I suppose. Some sort of soul cohesion. Can't explain it, but it happens after, wild nights of dancing. Probably all the adrenaline. It'll be the adrenaline and the endorphins. 29th. Do I have to explain things scientifically, really? Can't I just say, yeah, I felt great and I looked great, yay? Don't have to explain things. 29th of March 2022. A housing inspector just popped by saying they had it in their records that my fencing has asbestos, which was a blatant lie, by the way. I said the whole house is asbestos, but not the fencing. So he marched around my property, and it's a ridiculous ruse, as they would know the fencing, steel mesh, was replaced only a few years ago. Got to raise one eyebrow. They think I'm stupid. It's hilarious. I always underestimate the Tanya, dumb motherfuckers. Swear to God. So he is more likely a land valuer, and now I feel paranoid that they will try to force me out of my home as they want the land to sell to developers, as has been going on in my area for quite some time. Fuck. Well, I will fight as long as I can. I'll just stay here. Hopefully they'll let me live here until I die. Whichever comes first, maybe some wonderful man might tuck me under his wing and claim me as his own, and I'll end up living with him. But that would be great risk, because I'd be at risk of being homeless if the relationship failed, right? I'm not going to make any crazy, impulsive jumps to move in with a man. It's actually dangerous for me. Just on that alone, risking having a safe home, roof over my head. My friend Kellyanne wrote, "Can you find a way to buy it?" I replied, "It costs $1 million. The rent is $1,000 per week on $1 million. And I have zero money and no deposit." My friend Deborah Starr wrote, "In Melbourne, if it's an OOH house, and if they want to boot you out, they have to provide other suitable housing instead, but might be an apartment." I replied, "Yes, I'm aware of that. I don't want to lose my home though." She replied, "No, of course not." I replied, "My psychiatrist is dead against me being forced to move to a one-bedder also. He said I have been the most mentally stable in the past 2 years, and he would hate to see me destabilised. People coming to my home without prior written notification and then lying about asbestos fencing is enough to destabilise me, for fuck's sake." The inspector seemed nice enough, but they are supposed to give you at least 24 hours notice before inspecting. Then the crazy BS about fencing, when they know they provided a brand new fence only a few years ago. which is already rotting and rusting in places because they do everything on the cheap. She replied, I understand it's unfair and very stressful for you. I don't have a solution, but I encourage you to phone them or to go in if you can and get a clear answer. I replied, I can't deal with their bureaucratic sadism right now. I guess as I have no money to buy my own home, I am at their mercy, thanks to my filthy mother and my filthy ex-husband, by the way, robbing me. I just sent an email to my psychiatrist so he knows they are up to something. At least I was left alone here for the past almost 19 years. Try almost 21 years now. It's a pity I only got to enjoy my home in relative peace and safety for only the past 3 or 4 years. I guess if they are wanting to force me off the land here, they will not waste time in contacting me, as you know. Money. I asked for help to turn large swathes of the land into community food-bearing gardens, as the mowing is untenable. So this is their response. Unbeknownst to them, I have since bought my own lawnmower, and when I quickly discovered I could not physically do that work, I got help from my caseworkers with a lawnmower contractor who needs to rattle his dags and fucking communicate, show up and do the job. Grass isn't too bad at the moment, but the grass doesn't stop for anyone, not even me. Sometimes I feel like that guy, the guy in the world's fastest Indian, he was a Kiwi, built his own Indian motorcycle and then took it to, I think it was Utah and the Salt Flats, and ran a race and won it. I can't remember the guy's name. But anyway, there's a scene in the movie. It was such a typically creative, thinking outside the box thing to do. He had grass, yay high, and he was busy working on his soon-to-be famous motorcycle. And the grass was, really, really high. And someone, the council, and back in the day, complained about it. So he got out a flamethrower with, I think it was a flamethrower, and he just burnt the whole motherfucking lot. Anyway, I laughed at that scene till I cried. I laughed and I cried, because it's exactly how I feel about my grass here. It's just too much. It's too much. And people are unreliable and often sadistic. I had a lawnmower man for 5 years that, here we go with the rape motif again, constantly, sleazing onto me in the most lascivious, disgusting way. I mean, he didn't rape me, but it was always that kind of a vibe, like, ugh. I had to fire him in the end. I couldn't tolerate it anymore. And so, I'm grateful to have this lovely Muslim man who's respectful and honouring to me and not sleazy and doesn't look at me like he's about to devour me. But he's a bit fucking unreliable these last year or so, So it gets very, very annoying. But I said to my caseworkers, I said, I want to keep him in our employ, and I want to keep him coming here because he doesn't creep me out or treat me like a sex object. And finding a lawn mowing contractor who doesn't trigger me and creep me out, I said, is worth every bit of money you pay him. I said, in fact, give him a raise, pay him more if that's what we have to do to keep him going, right? I think they did give him a raise, and now he's still bloody unreliable, for the love of all the gods. Alhamdulillah. Anyway, it will happen when it happens, and if it doesn't happen, I'm just going to sit back and do nothing, because it's their job to make sure the lawns get sorted now, not mine. The onus is on them. I won't be paying $1,000 like Housing Commission at Buranda did charge me one time when the grass got out of control, to have 3 men come and slash it down. It was It was evil. There's no way it cost $1,000 for all of that. But anyway, what could I do? They fleece the poor and the marginalised and fuck you up the arse at every opportunity. Well, won't be happening again, darlings. Mama T will go to war on their heads. Back in those days, I was so munted out on psych meds, I just went, paid it. Should have gone to war on their heads. Especially since I spent, weeks trying to get support for the mowing, writing to even Rotary, and I was just treated with such disdain and condescension. It was just beyond evil. But this land needs to be kept in a tidy, pristine state, and there is that. I want my land looked after while I live here, not just because it saves me money in the long run, it saves those kind of situations arising, but also I take pride in my garden and my home. Like, fucking do the right thing. Seriously. Anyway, I'm upsetting myself. My liver's aching again. My liver's been aching since I had that weird bladder invasion. I don't know why. My liver's got nothing to do with the bladder, unless it's a nerve, like a transferred pain from the nerve endings. I often get transferred pain, especially with my teeth. So I'm hoping that's all that little ache is. And anyway, I mustn't upset myself because it's hurting. It's actually hurting my liver. So to hell with it all. So anyway, I continued on. So that situation has been rectified. If anything, my garden looks pristine as it was mowed on Friday, but the BCC has not mowed the verge. So here's the irony. They came past the other day. They did a really good job for the first time in 3 or 4 months with whippersnippering. The whole verge looks lovely, and now I can't get my contractor to come and do the inside. Can't win, can I? I just can't fucking win. But here we go, another day in paradise, am I right? Deborah wrote, well, maybe that was all it was about. They came to check on the state of the garden and then had no cause to do anything more about it. I said, let's hope so. It's an awful feeling living on the edge as I have zero trust in our government. You will own nothing and be happy for it. Yeah, right. Anyway, continue on with 29th of March 2021. I have contacted the Ombudsman after AGL rep hung up on me when I was applying for a cheaper plan. They are rude and inept and have been ripping me off. That's another ongoing struggle, by the way. They wanted me to pay even more money to offset the effects on the environment, which is insane given I was applying for a cheaper plan because I can't afford the plan they systemically abusively put me on, but they want me as a disability pensioner to pay for their offsetting of carbon. Sometimes I'm living in Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. If you've read that book, you'll understand that reference. So I told him this was insane given I already can't afford my bill, so he hung up on me. Cowardly and bloody useless and unprofessional. I need to find another gas and electricity supplier that does not discriminate against the poor and marginalised. They have a history of overcharging me when I was very ill and vulnerable, for which they actually repaid me about $1,000 several years ago. But someone must have audited them and they got caught out, right? How they ripped me off severely. and I was too ill to realise that I was being ripped off severely. Because you believe a professional company when it tells you you owe X amount, right? Thieving bastards they are. I smelled a rat that in actual fact they owed me much more than that. Last year I complained about the very high gas bill and worried there was a leak. They gave me a much cheaper bill, but no repayments for overcharging on the gas. My last bill was ridiculous, but the meter reading agreed with the bill, so I had no choice but to let it go, even though they charged me as much as a 5-person household. Doesn't sound right, does it? Something not right there, but anyway. So now it's the Ombudsman. I am so furious I could spit. And then I replied to someone that was a Facebook friend. I'm so very sick of having to fight for every scrap and crumb of life. So exhausted, mentally, physically and spiritually. And that woman replied, I know the feeling. And then someone else wrote, I don't blame you for being mad. And then that woman also wrote, I'm glad that you're standing up for yourself. Well, I have to. Who's going to fight for me if I don't fight for myself? But, you know, when I'm really feeling mentally not well, it's just asking too much. You know, I just go into overwhelm and I literally just surrender and get ripped off thousands of dollars, right? It's evil. It's really evil. I've just recently had to battle with them for weeks to get refunds that they owed me, and then they said they owed me $900 and then I only got $700, and then I got this email saying we can't refund the other $200 and something because we have to. It's because it comes from the government. It's my rebate, you know, to offset the cost of electricity and gas from Centrelink. We're not allowed to give you that. It's all horseshit. Just give me back my fucking money, you thieving bastards. But anyway, so so I did get a rebate, but you know, look, honestly, most of that went on, you know, bills and debts and a few things, and money goes nowhere. No matter what they give me back, it goes nowhere. That's how far behind I am now. So I don't actually give a fuck anymore. I'm just riding through life day by day, living my best life, dancing wildly on the weekends, being as joyous and triumphant as I can muster from within my own spirit, so that I don't feel dead through the rest of the week. Kind of feel dead anyway with exhaustion after, but I'm staying true to myself and my life goals and my happiness, and enjoying the love that's flowed to me from people who actually do love me and care about me. And the rest is horseshit. It doesn't really matter, you know. Fuck them. Fuck them if they can't take a joke, as Thomas Sheridan says in his videos. You kind of have to laugh at that because it's kind of true. Seriously. Another 3-day lockdown from 5 p.m. today. Oh, 11:01. It's still a 111. Make a wish, but you might need to do it again in 10 more minutes. Oh, you have to laugh. So yeah, what was I saying? Another 3-day lockdown from 5 p.m. today. Good, but necessary. No, it wasn't necessary. It was bullshit, but hey, we all lived through it. What can I say? My friend Margaret wrote, yep, just heard, keep safe. I felt really bad because in New South Wales we can sing and dance in hordes, not gloating, but it's all very tentative, eh? I wrote back, every dog has their day. 2 infected morons went to Byron Bay so it could spread from there. No accidents in the universe, people. Served the government's purposes very, very well. The whole thing. Big fucking control drama and an abuse. All very, very well orchestrated and planned in complete synchronisation. And if you couldn't see through that from the very beginning, me, even after decades of having to exist on psych meds, could see it as clear as day. I don't know what happened to the rest of my fellow countrymen. I don't know how that mass formation psychosis was so in effect. I'm still astonished to this day how everyone literally bent over and literally took it up the arse. Still not fighting against it like they should be if they had any sense of decency or moral fibre. Still going along, going with the flow of effluent. Mama T had to surf all of that in the last 4 years. It's not pretty, people. My life has already been an ever-running stream of effluent, but I know how to surf and turn shit to spiritual gold. Do you? 29th of March 2020. 9:09 a.m. Not much sleep last night, but I finally bombed after 4 a.m, then slept deeply, so I feel okay. The past week I've slept for only 4 or 5 hours a night, which means I am recovering from the awful flu I had in early March, when I could not stay awake. And it wasn't COVID. I didn't get COVID till October last year, ironically, after all that fear-mongering and death cult hammering us down with abject terror. I was like, yeah, whatever. When it happens, it happens. C'est la vie, we all die. And everyone told me, you're going to die of it, Tony, you're going to die of it. Actually, no. Had worse flus, which was fortunate because I was a bit freaked out when I finally caught it. Oh, here we go. This is where I get to kiss my ass goodbye at long last, right? Nope. Nope, nope, nope. I feel supercharged in my core, almost expectant. Something or someone is coming. Be ready. I never know for what, but my body picks up the signals days, weeks, even months ahead. I just have to go with the flow, which at times is hard when I am too sick and feel like I'm walking through walls of almost solid mud. I have an urge to dance again, a good sign. I want to do my psychedelic dreamer's berserker stomp, let my hair fly in all 4 directions. I just rolled my head around and every bone in my neck made lovely grinding noises like an old school typewriter. Clackety clack. I must remember my bone structure, although fabulous, is also almost 55, try almost 59, and rather worn down by fate. Ha 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 ha. I do remember that too, until a miraculous burst of life force infuses me with the vitality of a child and a primordial zest to embody all that is. Sometimes it's spiritual too. Sometimes it's just my wild woman's rebellion. They try to kill me. Let's dance. Entrancing only the ethereal channeling of energetic force fields. I am also enjoying being able to breathe easily these days. Oh my goddess, asthma is so debilitating. I really feel for those people who have coronavirus and are unable to get air in. I have lived like that all my life, so I know how exhausting and terrifying it is. Only corona is much, much worse. I fear that inability to breathe. I fail to breathe during my sleep often, but it does not bother me as I am asleep and busy in the dreaming. But waking up tired, then when I have a chest infection on top of that, nearly kills me. I am quite stunned to have survived that last illness, mortified at my own resilience and ecstatic brilliance. The gods have my back. Yes, they do. In all seriousness, yes, they do. Until the time comes for me to transition, and then I'm sure the gods will guide me into the next dimension too. I am never alone, even when forgotten or abandoned by humans. I know that. I have experienced it. The supernatural guidance and protections that had some of my enemies so damn terrified. So I exist here on Gaia to tell you, nothing is ever what it seems. Life goes on and on and on until it doesn't. But even then, the cycle continues in another form. So what can the Tanya do but dance, dream, desire, manifest potentialities in her psyche with a heart full of love and inspiration, and watch the pearls of wisdom glisten and coagulate. Slap herself on the back for being the staunch little warrior goddess she is, and smile. Beauregard and I just had a lovely little visit from little Coco and Pete. She came inside the gate and had a little run around my yard, frolicking happily in her little furry black curls with the bow. They have a sweet little romance going on. So cute. I had a nice chat with Pete. He is a lovely man. I think it's lovely he brings Coco for a little play, as Bobo loves seeing her, and both dogs get rather bored being isolated from other dogs all the time. They must be twin flames, as both dogs don't like other dogs much. So they have found each other. Hilarious. Charlie was interested in little Miss Coco. I call her Coco Chanel, as she is such a little canine lady. But I did not trust Charlie with her, as he gets insanely jealous if I give attention to other animals. It's a glorious day today, quiet but warm and sunny. I could say the same about today. Life is good. Here I posted a meme. A sensitive soul, a heart of wild, you grew up thinking you're a cursed child. Embrace your blessing, it's not a curse, because you've been kissed by the universe. Indeed I have. My comment on that in 2020 was, yes, but did she have to use so much tongue? Thanks, universe. 29th of March 2019. I posted another meme. Child of the earth. Your bones are made from the earth. She is your mother. And if the earth can survive and move on after the destruction of earthquakes and tsunamis and hurricanes and volcanoes, then you can survive your broken heart Move on from your past and the terrible things that have happened, by Nikita Gill. And I replied, so far so good. I have weathered many vile storms, heartbreaks, illnesses, and foulest betrayals. I am older and tired now, but I am living proof that you can survive almost anything. Never give up. Never, ever give up, my darlings. That was from 2019. And here I posted another meme. Don't be afraid to shine. Remember, the sun doesn't give a fuck if it blinds you. And here I posted another meme, and it's song lyrics from Bob Dylan. Sometimes just read his lyrics. Come, you masters of war, you that build all the guns, you that build the death planes, you that build the big bombs, you that hide behind walls, you that hide behind desks. I just want you to know I can see through your masks. Let me ask you one question. Is your money that good? Will it buy you forgiveness? Do you think that it could? I think you will find when your death takes its toll, all the money you made will never buy back your soul. Anastasia Palaszczuk, Stephen Miles, Yvette Darth, Jared, whatever the fuck that animal name, the chief health officer, and Jeanette, I can't, was it Jeanette McDonald? I can't remember. The former chief health officer, who I could see quivered and shook the entire time with nerves, because deep down she knew, she must have known it was wrong. Oh, so wrong. They got rid of her very quickly, didn't they? Or she chickened out, didn't have the courage of her convictions. And where are they now? Hiding behind their walls, thinking they're safe. But when my people finally wake up and get some gumption and rise up, I loves a good hanging, I does. It won't happen. I live in an apathetic country of weak people who were weak-minded and complicit, unfortunately. But viva la revolution. Be happy, be healthy, be true to your own body autonomy, live well, live proud, live free, live wild, live joyously, live triumphantly, and live in love with the ones that love you, and never ever let those filthy feeted bastards grind you down. Twenty-ninth of March 2018. I have had a lovely day with Jenny, who brought me lunch and dinner with a lovely roast chicken, bread rolls and cupcakes. We spent a comforting time together. Thanks, beautiful Jenny. Love you. Her response was, you're welcome, always a pleasure, always enjoy your company. You are wonderful and lovely in every way, Tanya. Love you too, which was very sweet and heartfelt. Unfortunately, well, things change, but that's life, isn't it? Life is all about change, finding out who people really are, but Sometimes I wonder about life. It is so very, very unusual and quirky and strange for me. Here I write, I feel like I am dying. So this was back in 2018, right? Yeah, had trouble with my leg in those days. I feel like I'm dying while simultaneously bursting into a star. Vituperative thoughts of rage and pain scramble around my head. I let them clatter like flotsam and jetsam amidst the sea foam on a distant beach, soaked and sodden like cum-stained sea foam. My happiness is paramount, quote unquote, some motherfucker I used to know. Yet it came at the cost of my own peace, blown away, jettisoned by men and fates. Goddesses, fae, mermaids, pick me up and hold me precious, stroke my hair and unwind my unravelling emotions. I have flown into the sun, been burned by its white phosphorescence, scorched by my desire to live joyously in safety and freedom, yet shackled by a love that is, or rather was, atrophied and denied. So much beauty in the world, so much potential. I birthed women and inspired strength into the broken. I loved and lost and loved and lost in a constant upheaval of brokenness, new faces, same vapid treacheries. My lungs have squeezed and wheezed, and I have danced to the beating slow and clamorous, but so fucking intrepid, of my own heart. I have seen the glory of the angels singing me on this rainy morning from my sleep. Work to do. What work? Leave me alone. I need to rest. But they drag me from the astral and gently push me from somnolence to full consciousness again. My neck's still a bit dodgy. My body is fighting to die. It craves it so, this release from eons of pain. But my brain demands life. My spirit flounders in the shadowlands, not quite choosing one or the other. So I must flow along the river of eternity, awaiting my turn to fulfill my destiny. I can hear it. It's coming. It's so beautiful. My becoming truly is. This tiny fragile mushroom appeared on my lawn yesterday. No idea what type it is. It is very cute. Gosh darn it. There it is. Interestingly, it's come up after the grasses must have been recently mowed, because I can see flecks of grass, blades of the leaves on my feet. But it was a very unusual mushroom. It was almost transparent. Very sweet. Makes me miss my daughter, because when we used to go up to Myala at Mount Glorious, forest at Mount Glorious. She was always showing me, like my mother before her, she loves mushrooms, so she was showing me all the different fungi, and she showed me one mushroom that literally is luminescent, and so she pointed it out to me, and it was amazing. You shine the torch on it, it just glows, you know. Anyway, It's a happy memory of my daughter, and I'll just leave that where that lies. 11:22 a.m. It's still technically an angel number because it's double digits. You can go crazy with that. You can confabulate all you want out of that. But still a bit tired, people. Still a bit hollow under the eyeballs. Oh well. I had a wonderful weekend with people who love me, and I'm happy and grateful and satisfied, and je ne regrette rien, even though I'm tired. 29th of March 2017. The nice thing about having a couch surfer here was the motivation to keep the house tidy for 2 days. The unpleasant thing was having a keen awareness of being used, but the spiritual gift was rising above it and keeping my home and my thoughts sacred. Yes, it is a weird feeling. I guess it was a nice little test to see if I'm ready to live with other humans. Not sure about that, although there was no tension or conflict. The guy just came home and went to bed early and slept late. Avoidance. I was not upset. There is no need to entertain each other. I was also gifted by the universe yesterday with an unexpected outing with some girlfriends, so that was Hashem's little way of saying, don't worry, be happy, and my small contribution to the service of humanity brings its own rewards, which were spontaneous and delightful. Blessed be the misfits, the weirdos, the isolated middle-aged rejects of society, the wise women. Our gifts are not always recognised or valued, but we know what giant jewels we carry within. Sometimes we cast our pearls before swine, and other times we shine like brilliant faceted diamonds in the crown of the eternal, or dusty crystals hanging from the chandeliers. The pendulous gift is not always comprehended by naked eyes, but must be unwrapped by the seer of the soul. The wanderers wander to discover the earth within themselves, to hide or run from their own fears or discomfort. They journey into the mystery only to return time and again to themselves, to unpack or disrobe the layers of conditioning and bullshit and preconception placed there by society, culture, religion. All is within. We are all travellers of time and space and heart. Some of us are destined to stay in one place for a while. My father's death has released the valve on the pressure cooker of my life, the second last of that long list of abusers from my family of origin. I felt like the stew that once exploded all over our kitchen ceiling, dripping my gravy train all over the floor while someone stupidly scrambled to catch my sumptuous glory onto a plate so they could still feast. Like a bear caught in a trap, my sciatic nerve damaged my leg for 3 weeks, but still I danced and whirled and churned and gnawed through my pain. Get out of my way, motherfuckers. Nothing to see here. Characteristic of my warrior, survivor, thriver, tempered, tempestuous spirit, I did not let those past hellions deplete me or delete me. Deleterious delights. To conquer my abusers, I had to conquer myself. To fight for myself, for love, for light, for pneuma, that informs my blood vessels with the gift of oxygen and for consciousness to instruct my soul. But at the end of the day, of the darkest night of the soul, or the most awful days of awe, or the celebration of our freedom from oppression, the Pesach bride revisited. It is all bollocks, isn't it? All our dreams and highest ideals and fecund revelations, birthing a new paradigm or a new way of living in harmony with the earth, nay, the entire cosmos, are nothing but ethereal will-o'-wisps, entertainments for the lost and forlorn, intrinsic fancies to inspire us to hold on to this immortal coil 1,000 different ways on thousands of different days. Crazy making. So I sit on our patch of earth, grounding my being to the core of this planet, watching flies mass over the bones of a newly dead cow or bull, placed lovingly at my feet by the Beauregard, who wants to show his mama his appreciation of the life-death-life experience, growling at me when I touch him, because the bone, mama, his bone. So I wave away the flies that seek to inseminate their existence in yet another cycle of rebirth, and crawl again in maggoty abandon, cleansing and purging the decay of days gone by, a new life, a new regeneration. Where was I? Oh yes, life, be in it. We pass this way but once. Make it beautiful, fearless, intrepid, delicious, inspiring, and remember, we are but dust, stardust, and a few hydrogens, and shit, smiley face. I had a nice evening with Terry, Jenny, and Jason tonight. Terry cooked us tacos for dinner. Yummy. Then we danced together. We have so much fun. Even Beauregard danced with Terry, but not his mama. That dog takes me for granted. Oh. He loved Terry and Jenny a lot. It is raining and the sweet smell is wafting through my bedroom window. I had to lie down as I felt exhausted, as the pain in my left leg, which came back last night, and along with my bladder interruptions, has worn me down. 8 years of struggling like this with the bladder, it's been interminable. But I will get better, and I will have my truly loving partner and my happy, joyous, triumphant, joyous love life one day. It's a psychedelic dreamer's dream. I'm allowed to dream opulently, sometimes a bit foolishly too, but you can't take my dreams away from me. You can steal my man out from under me, and can't really steal someone's man. If they didn't want you, they didn't want you. C'est la vie, babies. But you can shit down my neck and run off with my lovers, or my lovers can run off with others, but you can't take my dreaming, my freedom and my joy. God knows many, many have tried in the past. Dumb motherfuckers that they were. The young Frenchman, on his first night here, asked me what was in my tea. He only drank 2 cups, and he had to pee all night too. Makes me wonder if there's something in the water supply, right? I said it is only the usual black tea you buy in the supermarket. Now I worry it is not the tea, but the town water. I will switch to organic tea, see if my bladder settles down. Anyway, the rain is fresh and cooling. Another nice day. It's a bit astonishing, isn't it, when you think about it? Try not to think about it. So I shared an article on from BuzzFeed.com. So apparently male authors have been making their wives do all the typing. It's just rude. If you're going to write your book, type your own fucking book, you lazy bastards. Oh well, the wives were stupid enough to do it. I guess thinking that they were participating in their husband's business and were bringing the money. I wonder how many of them got flicked off for younger, prettier models after their husbands became wealthy and famous at their expense, as often happens, by the way. Anyway, I commented, fine examples of sociopathology and narcissism and general lackadaisical misogyny. Make their wives and or daughters do all the work, then aggrandize themselves on their perceived genius and making themselves look like great guys by acknowledgements of their wives' submissive and dependent need for the great academic or author's success. Just putrid. P.S. While I write my crappy thoughts on my life, I do my own typing. Follow my own stream of consciousness rambling and stow my own flow, people. The young couch surfer has left sacred space. Lol, freedom. And I think I posted that photo yesterday. It's the same sunset, isn't it? Well, I must have got a little bit obsessed with that sunset. Oh no, I see why. I'd reposted it because it was my cover photo. It's glorious sunset, beautiful colours. 29th of March 2016. It is 9:51 p.m. I have finished siliconizing the mirror into the brass porthole. I need to find another mirror. It's hard to find mirrors of a certain size. I always have trouble replacing the mirror on that porthole. Can never get the bloody right size mirror. It's driving me bonkers, people. I have finished polishing it with Brasso. $10 for that stuff. Outrageous. I have just drilled holes and screwed it into my front portico. It looks beautiful. I had forgotten how beautiful it looks. It looks great, accessorizing with my Naga Kanye, Indian mystical mermaid, guardian of the sea and women, and my little brass ship's bell. I might not be able to afford to live in my Zen zone, Byron Bay, but I can at least pretend. Smiley face. I just realised I forgot to eat anything today, which by the way is highly unusual. So now I'm going to sit and watch TV and eat my yogurt. Life is good. And my friend Louise in Manchester wrote, $10 for Brasso. Brasso is dear here, but not to the same extent. I just bought some for £2.50, which roughly equates to $5. So it is indeed a lot dearer here. Why are we always ripped off in Australia by malfeasant dogs? Oh, I know. Descendants of convicts who stole loaves of bread and got sent to the Antipodes. It's in the fucking DNA to steal and rip everybody off. Although those poor people way back when, were stealing bread because they were hungry and It was cruel. It was cruel to be sent to the Antipodes just for being hungry. But this is the culture of this place. Tall poppy syndrome, thievery, thuggery, corruption. It is what it is, people. Here I posted a photo of my brass porthole at my front door. And you can just see the Naga Kanye there on the edge of that photo and the brass bell. I just got back from the dog park. Bobo had a wonderful time with his two girlfriends, Mia, a long-haired dachshund, and later Lola, a Pomeranian poodle cross. Lola's owner is a Serbian married to an Irishman, and she has two lovely children. We sat and shared stories about our childhood as Branka complained her little boy is obsessed with video games. So I told the children how we played sports in the streets, climbed trees, flax jumped, which by the way was a life-threatening exercise, but when you're a child you have no fear, and ran for miles up and down the beach, fishing, swimming, snorkeling, catching tiny guppies, collecting limpets from the rocks for bait, pawa, kina is a kind of really spiky sea egg, sea urchins. If not for my parents, I would have had an idyllic childhood. Indeed, if not for my parents and godfather and half-sister and her husband and Case that came along later, if not for all those bastards, I would have had an idyllic life indeed. But never mind, I've made it through by sheer grit and determination and 25 years of therapy. I asked them if the Easter Bunny had visited. They said yes. So I told them the story about one Easter when I was about 6. The Easter Bunny came and I went hunting for them and found so many, many eggs. A week later, my mother and I were baking a cake and we opened up the oven to put the cake in, and lo and behold, there was a huge Easter egg inside the oven. I had not thought to search inside the oven, and the Easter Bunny clearly forgot to tell my mother it was in there. Also goes to show how often my mother cooked, laughing my ass off. I thought it was a pretty special bonus, a forgotten egg from the treasure hunt. Sometimes it is cool to have crazy, chaotic parents. I come from a long line of wanderers. Typically in mature age, my forebears would up their stumps and wander across country or across the oceans in search of what? Adventure, themselves, enlightenment. It comes with a kind of madness, an insatiable wanderlust, and often a roiling, unmedicated depression. My own estranged by choice, I don't want the violent, abusive bastard back. Father is itinerant here in Australia. He house sits. He is currently 88 years old. He has been roaming since his last divorce in the late 90s. He was a manual labourer all his life, so he gets placements in farms or sitting for people's pets while they go away. I could not trust him to feed my 3 cats and 25 guinea pigs back in 1999 for a weekend that I went to Melbourne for a friend's bar mitzvah. So I scratch my head to think how he manages to actually look after anything or anyone except for his selfish self. His father, my grandfather, Alfred Abraham Phillips, used to roam from Auckland, where he owned a modest house with my grandmother Connie in Browns Bay, or was it on the beach at Waihi? I can't remember. He would often arrive at my parents' home in Island Bay, Wellington, with a stick and a kerchief enclosing his tobacco, loose change, and a clean pair of underpants. He was a dowser. He was always en route to the South Island, where at one time he found gold, but not being a greedy materialist like my mother, he brought only a few nuggets back to show her. Mum got gold fever and yelled at him to go back and lay a claim and dig more. Pop just shrugged. He was travelling back to Auckland to make kissy faces at Connie, a bitter, sour old battle axe. As a toddler, I stood on her arthritic toe, and all fucking day she ranted and raved over it until my half-sister Angela and Mum decided to get out of there. I guess after raising 7 rough and ready, negligent boys and wandering husband, she was completely over children. Anyway, next trip down south, 6 months later, my beautiful, spiritual Pop found the local council had built a bitumen road over his gold find. Fuck my life. The Phillips clan could have been rich. My mother was furious and cried big tears of despair. My Pop just shrugged. It's probably where I get it from. I'd shrug quite often too. Some things you just need to say nothing and shrug it off. Babies. Plenty where that came from. He was much loved by my mother, as he was the only one who could control my father's searing mad tempers, which blew up like a wild storm, mostly out of nowhere. Not that my mother was ever serene. She would wind my dad up into rages that would burst blood vessels in his eyes from striving to not hit her. I was 5. I sure as shit felt like hitting her myself. So I wrapped my arms around my dad and said, "Don't worry, Daddy, I still love you." With my high IQ, I learnt early to diffuse aggression in our home, or act the clown. Anything for peace, yeah? Storms would rage at sea, across the road, spring tides and lashing rain and blasting gales against our picture windows that were more gentle than my parents' nocturnal screaming. I spent my first 8 years praying a lot, praying for safety and quiet. It never truly came, not until they had died or gone wandering. I don't fucking miss them. My cousin Robert, our family genealogist, who has done so much extensive work, told me that his father, Alfred's half-brother, also took to wandering. He migrated from New Zealand to die in Perth, WA, Western Australia. Just flicked me out for some bizarre reason. Didn't touch anything. Bloody hell. Computers are so weird, aren't they? There's a gin in my computer It's in my iPhone. Get out of my iPhone, you worm. But anyway, bloody gins everywhere. By that I mean genie, jinn, jinn, Middle Eastern type of malevolent fairy. Our other ancestor, Richard Rush, had been a convict in New South Wales and had come to New Zealand to start a new life and become a farmer. Many of our ancestors left Ireland or Scotland or England to travel in ships to New Zealand in a time when ships ran aground or were becalmed or sank or ran out of food and water or suffered typhus, to a land of the long white cloud, peopled by warring Māoris and Pakeha with no shops or much civilization at all. Aotearoa, land of the long white cloud. Children died of typhoid or malnutrition. One of our great-grandmothers had 12 children but lost 8 in 1 year. Then on my maternal line, my own mother Gisela, strong, courageous, and mad enough to take her 6-year-old to New Zealand, newly married to a New Zealand airman who suffered PTSD. In those days it was called shell shock. In 1956, and who tried to push my mother over the ship's railing to kill her. My half-sister screaming and pulling on her mother's legs until help came, and the mad, bad bastard Mr. Jarman was thrown in the ship's brig for the rest of the voyage. My mother loved to travel, but did not get to return to Germany until 1973 with me on the Fair Star. Her biological father, a well-known mage and a former sailor who worked as a ship's carpenter in his youth, had sailed the 7 seas, even travelled up the Amazon. He said he gave up the sea after that trip as he witnessed his shipmate getting swallowed whole by an anaconda. He inherited the family farm in Poznan, Poland, but let his brother live and work it. He remained in Germany. One time he visited the farm, looking forward to bringing home some fresh produce, only to fly into a rage as the brother and his family, who consistently asked for money to keep the farm going, did not even have 1 chicken in the place. Schnorrers and Schmendricks. Hell, even in my poverty, I have always kept at least 2 hens or ducks for eggs. It is not that hard to look after them. These were farmers, for crying out loud. My mother forbade me searching for their descendants in Poland, as she said they would just bleed me dry. I found that pretty funny, since I am likely poorer than they are. They at least still have the family farm. But I never bothered. I have had enough of sociopaths on both sides of my family. Anyway, I am writing this as I too have an urge to go to Byron Bay and kickstart a new life. The tragedy is I can't afford to leave my government house. I can't afford private rent. I can't afford to live, really. So I am trapped. I hate being trapped. A wanderer must always believe they are free at any given moment, even if the freedom is illusory. So here I sit in sacred space and clutter. I want to shake it all off and run free. Take my dogs, cats and chickens and just go someplace new. But it is impossible, an impossible dream. Here we sit, guardians of sacred space, 13 years in May, 21 years in May now. How time has flown, like a blip in the face of eternity. I have only known peace here in the last few years. Too early to throw caution to the four winds and go on adventures. Still so much healing to do. Time takes time. On a happy note, Jared visited with Harvey. We had a nice day and evening together. Bobo was in a bad doggy mood, so was very aggressive. I hope it is just another growth spurt and I don't have a savage dog on my hands. Other than that, Jared and I watched TV after Skyping with Crystal. Harvey and Penny had cuddles with me. Someone still loves me. Smiley face. Tonight my daughter unfriended me. After telling me she was never coming back, but yet expecting me to keep all her stuff stored in my house, which she dumped and flew out that night. Then she twisted my words, saying I said she is not an actor, which is ridiculous. She's been an actor since she was 7 years old. Why would I say she's not an actor? It was just crazy, the whole fucking thing. Then when I noted she told me I faked my recent serious illness, that I must be a great actor too, she unfriended me. Wow, toxic families. This is the good, loving daughter I thought I had. Yup, more bullshit. She can stay away for the rest of my life, but I will not be used and abused. Her shit can go. I am done. I am done letting family members hurt me. I have been struggling alone for 21 years with no support from family, and now I have no family. I have nothing to lose. And my ex-husband's nephew wrote, "Calm down, Auntie. Family is family. We all get frustrated with each other, hate each other, but in the end, we are all each other has." Really? Because he dropped me too like a hot cake. Do I look bothered? Just be patient with each other and give each other time and space to grow. Because shit, you can pick your friends, but you're stuck with your family. No, you're not, Mark. You're not stuck with any toxic wastrel. Set yourself free. Live your best life. Suffer no fools. Don't let the bastards continuously grind you down with their falsity and their perversions and their evil and their dishonour. Just saying. My beautiful friend Sally wrote, "Hopefully a little time will ease this Tanya and she'll be back." She did indeed come back, only to shit on me again last year. Jesus, it's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous, the whole thing. It's why I'm looking for a safe landing. I even wrote the lyrics for a song about it, inspired by some internet flame that decided he was madly in love with me but really wasn't. Don't know what that was about. That was insane too. But I wrote a song. I'll read it out to you because it may need tweaking, and I don't know how to write, music, by the way. But here's my song, right? Bear with me. It's a bit sad, I know, but let's go with it while I'm in the mood. Safe landing. I've been searching for a soul home forever, looking for a sacred space, a place where I can breathe, belong, be loved. I walked away from freehold houses gone fetid with toxicity, grew myself back, held my own, alone. Then I saw your golden lit neon sign and aspired for real love. Electric light glimmers in the darkness, another mirage, another lie. My body streamed in the energy of desire, happiness and excitement, only to be squandered by fools. Another mirage, another lie. For one I do know, I must try for my safe landing. Copyright Tanya Desiree Aarons, bitches. But anyway, that's my song that I wrote back in 14th of December 2023, which just after that entity that wanted to write songs for my writings, right, dumped me because he got COVID and chickened out. But anyway, it is what it is. Certainly wasn't a safe landing since he couldn't stick with me, kid, for the long term. Anyway, I know which souls are loving me right now, and even though, we're not lovers in the true sense of the word, the love is real between us, and it's sweet, and it's safe, and it's soul nourishing, and I deeply value and appreciate it, by the way. Sometimes you just find out who's real and who isn't in the most magical and astonishing ways. And my friend Tarina Edwards wrote, this was on the subject of my daughter, being awful. They have the ability to hurt you more than anyone realises unless they are in your shoes. She's obviously feeling alone and taking her frustrations out on you, but unfriending your mother is not okay. In fact, when she calms down and realises what she's done, she will be ashamed of herself. I know you've been working hard on cleaning your home and have felt better, apart from the bronchitis. Maybe send her a message and ask her to ensure one of her friends comes and removes her things, and give her some time to organise it. Well, she was still in the UK, so I was just being used really for 3 years. Simply say, if it's not removed by whenever you think is a fair time, then get it removed. Stand your ground, as Karina suggested, because the cycle of abuse has to stop. Kiss, kiss. And I replied, the things are not really the issue. They are an annoyance because they are a constant reminder of how she used both Jared and I on the day she flew to Europe, literally dumped and ran. I now have to clean her tent and find places for her books. She even complained about her books being under the house. I have nowhere to put them. She was very chaotic in her thinking, totally unfair to me. When I stated I felt I was dying with the last month-long illness, which I have still not fully recovered from, she laughed in my face. This is a repeat pattern of hers. She did that to me again last September, which is why I'm finally done. I have been very, very ill the last 12 months especially, with my bladder issues and lack of sleep, and I had been very ill, sometimes years at a time, with bad bronchitis. I've been ill all my life, actually, fighting against my own poor health, which is kind of miraculous when you see me out whirling dervishing in my shamanic tribal mosh in this body that is most of the time not actually, is actually subpar and struggling to stay fucking alive most of the time. When you see me do that superhuman feat, it's magical and it's powerful. But let us not forget, this body is not healthy like other people. I've struggled all my life. Anyway, I continue writing. She laughed in my face. You are always dying, she says. Yeah, right. I have been suicidal many times in my life and forced myself to hold it together, as I did not want to leave my kids alone in life with pedophiles and abusers in my family. My fear of what might happen to them came before my own hunger for oblivion and peace. By the way, I'm only still alive now because I no longer had the pressure of staying alive to get my children through to adulthood. Now I stay alive for sheer, utter curiosity that one day my life might at last make perfect sense and be beautiful and be surrounded by my truly loving partner and family and friends that do love and treat me with kindness and honour. That's the fantasy, people, the curiosity, the hope, the desire that one day I will find my true family, soulkin, and my tribe, my community of people who vibe with me and value, respect and appreciate and cherish me, because I don't have, never did have, a loving family. So you always want what you didn't have, right? Am I right? Just like I crave a truly loving partner so that we can get old together in comfort and ease in each other's arms, loving each other when no one else was capable of loving me. I only want the one, not the many. But yet again, stymied by fate at times. And it's okay. I have to make peace with what is. But I still strive towards that goal of having the love that every human being on this planet deserves. True, decent, honouring, romantic, passionate, wonderful, affectionate, genuinely caring love. I have had physical health problems since early childhood too. Weak lungs, bad chest. After decades of trauma, I now have stomach and bowel issues and of course the ever-present obstructive sleep apnea. Not breathing is a specialty of mine. I have survived on lack of oxygen so long. But if I tell my daughter I feel ill or fucking end stage, she thinks it is funny. She's a fucking sadist and a coward. Can't step up to the mark for her ailing parents. Hell, even my psychiatrist tells me I am an end stage complex PTSD patient. Which if my kid googled it, she would know that basically suicide, homicide, or just walking through the rest of my life waiting for death is an ever-present option. Well, maybe not homicidal very often, unless someone's overtly threatening me like happened recently at the club. Even then I contain it, because I've gained mastery over not just all the psychopaths that were in my life, but my own vulnerabilities at times. I've had to survive. be this version of myself that is ready to live fully and vibrantly with a handsome, devoted man by my side. Here she goes again, weaving her magic. I have fought so long and hard to get safety and comfort and peace in my life. For example, dancing wildly the last 4 years to at least have some fun before I die. 13 years now I've been dancing wildly and joyously. It's kept me alive at times, given me something to look forward to on the weekends. Now I fight because I fucking deserve a nice life of happiness and love. But my kids will never let me have that, so fuck them. I gave and gave and gave, and I am done giving for people who actually hate me. She never wanted to be on Facebook anyway. I had no problem with that. She can't handle her own choices. What's this here? She moved to Europe to act. The trip has been a disaster, but it is not my fault. I supported her in her craft here in Brisbane. I went to all her shows, encouraged and supported. My own mother never did that for me in anything, but tore me to shreds and sabotaged every good opportunity that came my way out of envy or spite. I am not my mother. Crystal must know that. Anyway, I love her. She is my golden girl. She was a good kid. She too had to survive the sociopathology that runs in my family. Unlike the others, at her core, she has a good heart. She is just confused, 1 minute telling me she will never come back and to get rid of her stuff, the next getting angry with me contemplating doing so. When she sorts herself out, she will see I have always done right by her. Always. Just breathe. One way or another, you will find a way to cope. Our reason for living needn't be only about our kids, that's true. There's other things to occupy your mind till better times come around with your daughter again. Hugs, kiss naught. It's from my friend on Facebook, Kellyanne. To you, Kellyanne. To all my beautiful friends who fought by my side and encouraged me along in dark and terrifying times. 29th of March 2015. It was a very bad year, 2015. Almost didn't survive it. 1:28 p.m. I received good news. 2 victims are preparing a stat dec against their perpetrator. So my advice and encouragement has been fruitful, and those 2 people will be able to get closure and vindication, whether or not the perp gets jail time. I am so relieved. It's a sickening feeling to have to sit back helplessly and wait for victims to light up and fight against their abusers. Sometimes it can take decades. Sometimes the victim never speaks out. To save one life, you truly save the world. In the case of child sexual abuse, it only takes 1 or 2 victims telling of their experiences to show dozens of others that they are heard, validated, valued, and that action is being taken. Shkoach, strength to the people affected. 6:24 a.m. I'm cooking spaghetti. I've made a mince thingy with baby corn and lentils, carrots, onions and garlic, which I can no longer eat, unfortunately, and tomato, simmer sauce and a splash of lime. When the pasta is ready, I'm going to sit outside in the dawn light and feast. Trying to work out why I was cooking at dawn. Such a meal. Oh well. I really, really need a meaty dish. Thinking that might be why I'm so emotional. The Tanya does simply not do hunger. Grrr. Viking raiders fight on a full belly. Jewish princesses too. 4:45 a.m. Home safe from another big night. It was rather spiritual. Makom, finding God in strange places. I went to get the $20 Crystal lent me so I could have a drink from the ATM near the 7-Eleven, which means she transferred it into my account. A blind Aboriginal man in a wheelchair was sitting outside. I have helped him before, a long while ago, when he had tipped over his coffee, totally unaware, so I gave him money for another one. I went up to him, gave him my few loose $1 coins, said, "Sorry, it's not much." He was so happy, blessed me. I blessed him back, lol. He thanked me for stopping to chat to him. I said, "No worries, brother." I felt much happier after talking to him. Life isn't meant to be this fucking hard. No, it is not. On the way to the casino, George saw me strutting up the street and he played a song for me. I can't remember what it was just now, but it made me cry as the words were so resonant with how I feel. He and I haven't hung out together in a long time, but I thanked him for the song, which had strengthened my spirit for another wild night. Then I danced and danced and danced. Some casino friends came and went and were all lovely to me. At the end of the night, an elderly Aboriginal man sat next to me. He had been watching me from a distance all night. He said, "Don't mind me, I am just a grandfather sitting next to a grandmother," which was a mark of respect, which I really appreciated. I didn't have the heart to tell him that I will probably never see my future grandkids, and I am actually a grandmother to rabbits that are being rehomed soon. I tried not to cry. Life has to be sucked up like a vacuum cleaner. Fucked, sucked and expended in a stomping warpath of a dance floor like a Hottentot on acid. Then the old wise one said, "I am just an old drunk in the night." I said inanely, "Don't worry, be happy." He said, "There are so many young kids on the dance floor." I said, "Yeah, brother, we could still teach them a few tricks about life, but it's better the young ones find out for themselves, like we had to, the poor bastards." Then we laughed. He decided the DJ was black and Aboriginal. I looked hard. He looked white to me, but I said to the elder, "I dunno, brother, he looks white to me, but he could have a touch of the tar brush in him, but hey, who cares what colour he is? I am a Pakeha myself." Pakeha is Māori, meaning paleface. I laughed, said, I'm just being cheeky. He loved it, said, You sure are cheeky, sister. He was very sweet, bit smelly, but hey, so am I at the end of the night. I said, I've seen you before, last weekend, when I walked to my car. He said, I am not homeless, I live in New Farm. I said, thank God for that, we still have a home. He told me how people are mostly awful to the homeless. I said, I know, I have a few homeless friends I hang out with at the end of the night. He nodded. I wonder if he is a Kadachi man. I need to learn shamanism. I was too polite to ask. Not many with the knowledge around anymore, and then they might not teach a white woman like myself, being a cultural thing probably. Still, if nothing else, it would be lovely to learn the dreaming from an elder. By that I mean the Aboriginal Dreamtime dreaming. Ask, and ye shall receive. I feel really shaken and stirred. Ever since I was desperately ill in the PA hospital, that's short for Princess Alexandra, in 2012, when I saw the vision of the Indigenous family who communicated to me that I was going to be all right. The old man looked a lot like the man in my vision. I have been on a journey to wholeness, very traumatic at times, with people asking for help with serious issues or being cast out of various places I had made my own mark at. Happened again last year. What's with that, people? First, the motorcycle clubhouse, then the pub, and now many enemies who would love to get me banned from the casino. Do I give a fuck? Yes, but I never let them see it. I am on a spiritual journey, and my people recognize me when they meet me. They know me by my light, my fury, my survivor's mantle, my smile, my frenetic dancing, and joie de vivre, and my love. They know it's both terrifying and spectacularly beautiful. Am I strong enough? I have no other option. This is my destiny. I have had a lot of help from my friends and from the supernal realms as well. I have found my purpose. It is not what I would have liked. I was hoping for a loving partnership, happiness and freedom. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. The great work continues. Shehehiano, Vikiyamano, Vihigiano, Lazman, Hazai. Amen. Freedom. Pesach is coming. So is winter. And my beautiful friend in England, Gillian Kay, wrote, Tanya, I admire you for your strength. Something that I have learned is that good does come out of bad. Sometimes, when the suffering is so great, it is hard to see how things can ever get better. When we feel low, the best thing is to reach out to try and help others, as you did with this man. From the other side of the world, I can see and feel that you have so much to give, as you did last night, and by other things you have said on Facebook. You should start loving yourself, as I am sure, although you don't realize it, There are people out there who love you. You bring a ray of fresh air for your frankness and saying it how it is. I hope you feel pleasure in what you give, because you are a much bigger person than the one who says, "What's in it for me?" Who are the weak ones. Indeed. People criticise Facebook, but it has brought so many people together, and hopefully we will continue to share for the better, laughing out loud. Thank you so much, Gillian, for your loving, supportive words. Yes, I do freak out and hit the wall at 100 kilometres per hour at times. I have been abused so long that so very often I doubt my own mind and am easily fragmented by others' nastiness or lack of understanding. I am not really as strong as I think I am, and as I crave love and have very often been unable to get it, I now prefer to give my loving attention to people in similar or worse situations, and only those who have walked in my moccasins, if you can excuse my cultural appropriation there, can truly love and support and respect me for who I am. We simply recognise each other. So it is not hard to love the broken down. We expect so very little. A kind word, having a hand held, a hug, being seen and known without judgment. I am happy and uplifted when I can share my heart in this way. Thank you, Gillian, for your love. Kiss, 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 kiss. I am definitely a love junkie, and love really does make the world a better place. Facebook was introduced to me by an 85-year-old lady I knew from my childhood, Mrs. Sylvia Shine. It is because of her insistence that I share my life on here with the few friends who can put up with me that I am here at all. She herself came from East London, a wild, red-headed, Cockney Jew. I loved her. She loved me. She had actually been friends with my mother and told me she tried to avert some of the damage that was done to me. I believed her. Unbeknownst to her, the abuse had already taken place when I was 6. She was concerned for me at 13. She has passed on now, but 15 years ago, when she told me about how endemic child sexual abuse was in her neighbourhood in London, involving fathers, uncles, even older brothers, I actually had a bit of a breakdown. Back then, I was very naive to think that Jews don't ever sexually abuse their children. The thought of an entire neighbourhood of a close Jewish community doing this to their own children caused me to be very distressed and triggered. I was on a weekend holiday to Melbourne at the time for a friend's bat mitzvah. I was actually a bit late for the party, coming back from my visit to Sylvia, Auntie Sylvia. However, learning this horrific fact put a lot of things into perspective, and I remain grateful that my mother's friend, Sylvia Shine, told me that she knew what I had suffered and understood me. No one had ever told me that before. Until then, I had always felt completely alone and unsupported. Life brings strange gifts, revelations that knock you off your socks, but catalyse great healing. I am happy and grateful. Julian wrote, Dear Tanya, you actually bring tears to my eyes. Please never feel alone. It is awful how abuse has happened and continues to happen. The worst of it all is that the abused, like yourself, have been unable to share it. As we are seeing, particularly through the events in Australia with thanks to Manny, that would be Manny Wax, many people are beginning to have the courage to speak out. I hope that knowing that you are not alone is some great comfort to you. I know how important it is for you to have that special person to love you, and you were let down so much by your mother, but you are not alone. I think the world is at rock bottom now with all the horrors that are happening all over the place, and believe if we work hard enough, we can make it a better place for ourselves and others. Indeed, sister, indeed. For now, take care of yourself and do something that gives you some pleasure. And I think I will try and do the same to give us the strength to carry on and feel good. My little something for now is just going to be eating a pizza, which I never do. I'll think about the diet and the rest tomorrow. Kiss, kiss. And I wrote back, Dearest Gillian, goodness, love and truth, respect, honour, kindness, standing up and counting, and fighting for each other for justice and righteousness, love for and of each other, our families, our animals, our earth, and like-minded communities, I truly believe can save our world and prevent the worst outcomes. If we fail, we can go down knowing we were good, kind people, and in our own small way, we tried to make a difference. Holding your hand across the oceans, dear heart, enjoy the pizza, every morsel. Diet is another foul word in my book, lol. Eat, drink, and be merry. Everything has its own season of joy. 29th of March 2014. I am enjoying the Creedence Cash tribute show. Awesome. So that was Creedence Clearwater and Johnny Cash tribute show. Tonight there was a heavy fog which will not bode well for my chest, which is already playing up, and my cat Penny is also acting and saying, I wonder why everything is so topsy-turvy, including the weird weather. Sons of Anarchy was a mild disappointment, but I enjoyed the Q&A with the actors. They took a long time to come on stage, and there was no MC to introduce the guitarist that came on beforehand, so although he played well, no one knew what was going on. Gail was thrilled with her gold ticket as she got to meet Tig, Juice and Bobby in person and have a brief chat with them. She was very excited. I am glad she got what she paid for and she had a great time. She had a fetish for bikies. It was quite hilarious, especially when I invited myself off the street to an outlaw motorcycle clubhouse. She was astonished. She was even more astonished that they made me welcome because of my wit and my charm and my courage, by the way. She was so envious and astonished. She used to come here on a Friday night when I was getting dressed and putting on makeup, preparing to go there for an evening of pool playing with the VP's missus. That's pretty much all that went on, people, most of the time. And, having a few drinks, of course. But she would come here and try and sabotage me by saying that I was disassociative and in an altered state and that I was putting myself in danger and who was I kidding and why was I going there anyway. She would get me drunk on cheap wine, which only takes 2 glasses, by the way. And then she would drive me there and deposit me there, but not right in front of the clubhouse, but drive a bit further up. But they always have, a lookout out the front, like security. So they'd see this going on. She was trying to fucking sabotage me, the evil bitch, which was potentially dangerous. I mean, I was lucky that they trusted me and loved me in that clubhouse, because what she was doing was not cool. And because she'd been my friend of many years, I didn't even think about it that way, because I trusted her. I thought we were close, Didn't think it only hit me later how sabotaging and dishonouring it was. So then after a few times of her dropping me off there on a Friday night in a slightly sloshed state, my friend who was the president took me aside and he says, "What's going on, Tanya?" I said, "What do you mean?" He says, you've been arriving drunk in the last few, weekends. And I said, "Oh, I'm not drunk." I said, "Oh, but I have had a couple of wines." He said, "But you never get drunk. You never used to come here drunk. What's going on?" I said, "Nothing. My friend comes over and as I'm getting ready and she tells me I'm out of my mind, which I'm not out of my mind at all. And I just laugh it off and she drops me and gives me a lift in." He said, "But you used to always come by bus and go under your own steam by bus." I went, "Yeah, I like it better that way, actually, But I said, she's fascinated and titillated by it all and she's trying to ride on my apron strings. He said, "Well, why doesn't she come in? Come in here then." I said, "Oh, she's a registered nurse by profession and she's terrified that it'll impact on her licence." He said, "Oh, okay, I get it. He says, "Do me a favour, Tanya, don't come here under the weather again." I said, "No worries, it won't happen again." But they must have been worried who this bloody woman was that was hand delivering me there. I'll go home. I was going home by bus, but hand delivering me, trying to live off my life vicariously, because she was fucking obsessed with me, by the way, to the point of it was not healthy. And, decided she wanted to be involved to the degree of hand delivering me there. It was just all a bit fucking crazy, wasn't it, really? They were right to question me on it, because, the Tanya, she just shrugs and goes with the flow. I don't always realise that there's something a bit shady about it. Anyway, no harm, no foul, I continued going there for about 8 months and then it went bad, not with the president. He wasn't there that night, interestingly. But when it went bad, I just went, time to move on again. And so I did. But yes, she was obsessed with bikies. Her boyfriend, they had this weird fucked up relationship, on again, off again relationship. But he'd been an associate of the Gypsy Jokers at one time, and I think he was also And my ex was an associate of the Odin's Warriors, which I thought was hilarious. And really was a bit hilarious. And but Pedro, her boyfriend, Gail's boyfriend, he loved me, Pedro. He was Serbian and he was nearly fucking 7 foot tall, and Lynn and I are little, petite and short. I'm a short, fat hobbit and she's short like me, but slimmer and petite, you know. So we were like two midgets standing beside him. And we used to go to the Greenbank RSL fairly regularly back in the day. We're talking, you know, up until 2011. Sometimes, well, here I was. When did I write this? 2014. That tribute show happened at the Greenbank RSL. So up until then, we'd go occasionally to the Greenbank. And but he was so tall and very, very scary. I mean, handsome-looking man actually, but very, very intimidating because of his great height and his bikey demeanour of like standing very dignified but not saying much to anyone. And and he didn't dance. He wouldn't dance with us for some peculiar reasons known only to him. And but anyway, it was cute because Gail and I would go and pick him up all the way from fucking Chermside, mind you, and then we'd drive all the way to the Greenbank RSL, and then she and him would just stand around, and then I'd go, you know, dance like a maniac, like I always do, and she'd join in on the dancing with me some of the time. And but I remember this night we were at the Greenbank, and Pedro was standing in the middle between Gail and I, you know, we were either side of him, and this petite little woman come running up and stands in front of me, and she says, I feel frightened. Can I stand with your man? I just feel safer. It's a bit fucking bizarre and out of left field, right? So I look up at Pedro. Pedro and I are good friends, you know. He looks down at me and I nodded. No worries, love. You stand here as long as you need to, baby girl. But anyway, she stood with us and she just looked up at him in awe. And Pedro's very friendly and sweet and looks down at her. And after about 5-10 minutes, she danced off and returned to the dance floor. I thought, what the fuck was that about? Anyway, Gail just laughed. She said, yeah, she said, when I'm here with Pedro, she says, Tanya, she said, men come up and want to shake his hand and women want to hang around and just look at him. She said he's got this charisma and people were actually just in awe and, you know, feel safer with him being there, but the men are always a little bit scared, but they shake his hand. I watched it happen actually many times. G'day mate, they'd say, and they'd shove their hand in his, and Pedro would just look at me like, what the fuck, you know, and I just like shake his hand, and off they'd go happy as Larry, you know. Mind you, he could be a dangerous man when he was hopped up on certain substances and was a bit frightening actually. But he never ever did me any harm. In fact, I was one of the few people who could defuse him, because if you've been listening to my videos, how I used to defuse my own fucking idiot parents even as a young child. So anyway, we were at my ex-boyfriend's 40th birthday, which was not a very nice party, to be honest, how I was treated by Courtney. Fuck him. But anyway, Pedro, true to form, got absolutely stinking out of his mind to the point of psychosis, drunk. And to be fair, I think he was on something else as well. They all were, not me, but Courtney was. Some of his other friends were. Oh, they really were kind of despicable. But anyway, Pedro is out of his mind, and he was trying to push his fist into this big fire that Courtney built in this big 44-gallon drum that he hand cut and designed. And then he had this nice leather jacket on. He kept putting his fist in the fire. And one of the wives of Courtney's friends kept saying, oh, let him burn, let him burn. Like, they were being really nasty. They were all scum, really. I'd spent 5 years of my life with the lowest form of trash you could possibly ever imagine. So can you be actually surprised that I'm not bothered by going to an outlaw motorcycle clubhouse and being very respectful and lovely and being treated lovely? Because I'd already survived the lowest, most common, vulgar denominators. And, they weren't trashy in that clubhouse, as I said, even asking me why I was turning up a bit tipsy and under the weather. They were very, very respectful of me and loving to me. So anyway, at this 40th birthday party, fucking Pedro trying to set himself on fire, right? Some kind of altered drug-soaked state. And now remember what I told you, that Pedro was very tall. He was about 6'5". He was enormously tall man. And little old me standing beside him, I said, knock it off, Pedro. Stop putting your fist in that fire. I said, your beautiful jacket will get scorched and ruined. I said, what are you even doing? And this bitch that was married to one of Courtney's friends, Irish woman by birth, I think. She was an ugly fucking troll of a thing anyway. So she says to me, let him burn. I said, no, you don't understand. Pedro is my friend. I'm not going to let him burn. He's out of his mind right now, but he won't be burning, not on my watch. And they all just kind of look at me, because they haven't met Mama T, who's very fucking protective of her friends, right? So even Courtney was like, oh yeah, just let him burn. He's a pain in the ass. I don't even know why I invited him to my birthday. I went, yeah, why do you invite people to your birthday you actually don't have any respect or genuine like for? Like, why are we even fucking here? You know? Oh, talk about ochre white trash. But anyway, so yes, and I am saying that in my public YouTube video because it happens to be the truth, people. So anyway, Pedro, still in his altered little state, keeps doing this with his fist, and in the end, Courtney said, when he goes completely berserk, he can be quite dangerous. Tanya, he once smashed up my entire kitchen, pulled all the doors off the hinges and trashed the entire kitchen, which I believe he did that because he's Serbian and he's wild and he's a bikie and, goes into alcoholic blackout and doesn't remember shit. It is potentially dangerous being around people like that. So anyway, he's still acting out a bit. Courtney's starting to freak out. Actually, in this instance, justifiably so. And so Courtney just kind of looks at me. He himself was speeding off his fucking dial, the useless cunt. So anyway, I look at Pedro and I say, Pedro, it's time you had a little lie down. Oh, but we're having a party. I said, you can continue with the party when you get up. I said, I want you to go lie down for an hour. Oh, no, I'm not going to do that. I went, little me, you can be quite intimidating when I lose my shit. I grabbed him by the hand and I went, Pedro, I'm walking you to the spare room. You're going to lie down now, I said, and don't you dare come up until you've had a rest for at least half an hour to an hour. And he just went, okay. And I led him by the hand like a small boy, this giant of a man maniac. Took him into Courtney's house, to the third bedroom, laid him down. There was a mattress on the floor. Said, you have a rest now, mate. You come and see us shortly. Okay, Tanya. He actually did. He actually got out of our face for, I think it was only half an hour. Anyway, I walked back out to the rest of those ochre white trash morons, and they all looked at me in awe. Even the Irish woman, who wasn't a very nice woman actually. And they all said, how the fuck did you do that? I said, I'm German. That's how it's done. And they all burst out laughing. but I was a bit serious in that instance actually. I said, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. And I said, he needs to have a rest, and so it shall be. And even Courtney was like, you're the only one that I know, apart from Gail, that can handle Pedro. And I said, well, it's not about handling, is it? It's about just realising when he's out of his fucking mind and needs to remove himself from the situation before things get out of control. Okay, Tanya, okay. Anyway, so he has a little rest, and then he comes back to the party, and it was all very sweet. And then it was time to drive him home. I was driving because obviously I was sober and not on any drugs and hadn't been drinking, hadn't drunk for hours and hours, so I was fine. So I'm not sure how Crystal came to be in the car. I must have had to pick her up to take her somewhere en route. So the three of us are in my car. In those days I only had my little tiny Mazda 121 hatchback, so it was kind of funny watching Pedro trying to fold himself into my little tiny car because he's a very tall man. And Crystal's in the back seat, and we're driving to St. Lucia. So yes, I had to drop her there and then take him to Chermside where he lived. So we're driving from Cooper's Plains to St. Lucia, and she wasn't at the party, so I must have picked her up. She must have been nearby. I can't remember how that came about, but it was so fucking funny. So she's in the back seat, Pedro's in the front, still off his dial, still, from the night's substance abuses or whatever he was indulging in. And he starts talking Serbian to me. And I don't speak Serbian or Russian or Polish or any Slavic. I mean, I know a few words here and there, and I know a few words in Yiddish here and there, but I don't speak the Slav languages. And he's looking at me and he's right off his dial and he's talking in Serbian. And then my daughter, who's a bit of a genius, says to me, I can understand most of what he's saying, which was astonishing. She doesn't speak Polish either. So I'm looking at her and I went, how is it that you understand him? She said, I don't know, Mum. She said, it's a bit trippy, but he just said blah, 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 blah. And then he looks at her and he went, you really did understand. That's exactly what I said. And she went, I know. And she says, I've also got some weird telepathy happening with you, Pedro, so you don't have to say a word. You can just think it in your head. And I'm picking up on it. And I looked at her and I went, were you doing drugs last night too, Crystal? No, Mama, I never do drugs. So anyway, I'm driving with these two fucking maniacs who were intermittently communicating in telepathy and intermittently communicating in Serbian, which my daughter does not speak under ordinary circumstances. And I'm driving the car thinking, what the fuck, trying to stay sane in the membrane till I can drop her off. And when I dropped her off, Pedro goes, oh, I've been here before, Crystal. I came here for your 21st birthday. I went, what? I didn't even remember that. He went, yeah, Tanya, remember that time? And I was like, where have I been all my life in my own body, mind and spirit if I don't remember that? But anyway, it was delightful, and Pedro adored my daughter. He said, oh my God, she's amazing, Tanya. She's just so much like you, Tanya. She does look like me. She's just the coolest thing, Tanya. So that for the rest of the trip home, dropping him off to Chermside, I had to hear about how cool my daughter is and how it's cool that she speaks his language. And I'm like, Pedro, she doesn't speak your language. But she did, she understood me. And I was like, I know it's an anomaly. It must be some race memory. It's some weird thing, but she doesn't actually speak Serbian, Pedro. But anyway, it was a very trippy, confusing, astonishing car ride back to where he lived. Far out, mad things that happened. But sometimes on rare occasions I do miss him. He was a nice man for a lunatic. He was a nice man, and hopefully him and Gail finally got their shit together and moved in together, because they were obsessed with each other, but they wouldn't. They were just. It was the weirdest relationship, actually. Very weird. Trying to find where we were. Charlie's calling to me. I have to go and get her soon. This is another long video, 2 hours and 40 minutes, me raving on like a maniac. Oh well, I can be a bit unusual too. Come on. We were up to the Jewish princesses fighting on a full belly. Macron, we did that. And dance, did that. Yes, must be. This is a long video, my darlings. Oh, so I was talking about how I went with Gail to see The Sons of Anarchy, and that I was a bit mildly disappointed in it. Yes. So, and I segued into talking about bikies and my friend Pedro and all the strange things, that conversations and funny things we used to have together. It was kind of sweet, but also quite mad in some ways. And I had said, I'm glad she got what she paid for and she had a great time. I went to Irish Murphy's after, but again the night was a mild disappointment. The vibe was just all wrong. Jabba played wonderfully as usual, so it wasn't the music, it was the clientele. Holy fuck. It was like a full moon combined with an eclipse, combined with a Mercury retrograde, combined with a Who Let the Dogs Out, combined with the lunatic asylum on night release. Sometimes I think it's a pity we don't have asylums, as half of their would-be inpatients were in the pub tonight. Needless to say, I stayed till the end, people watching, then got so grossed out by the feral behaviours, I went down to the casino to hang with George. Some vile, detestable little man told me he wanted to rape me, so I chased him down the road. Isn't that weird that comes up in my memory, when that was what my dream was about, that I talked about at the beginning of this video? History repeating. The lady standing with George told me the little creep had followed her up to the casino from the pub, and she was very glad I chased him away. George was shocked and said he was a witness to him threatening to rape me. I said, well, I'm not going to let any man get away with that now, am I? Then I hung out with him and his lady friend for a while. Then, to top off an average night, My bloody Nightlink bus was so late. So now I am home, showered, still awake, and pondering my existence as I do when I feel like my time could have been better spent. I did enjoy dancing though, and it was nice when Ron and Chrissy arrived and they danced with me a short while at the end of the night. Oh, and I was flattered and surprised when some woman came up to me where I was standing at the end of the Sons of Anarchy event, waiting for Gail to come out. She told me I looked absolutely beautiful and she loved what I was wearing. I said, "Thank you very much," and grinned at her. The skirt is 2 years old. I still thought it was very sweet of her though. Anyway, needless to say, I am still wide awake, insomnia, so have to knock myself out, and my feet really hurt, as they always do after a long night out. Happy days. Laughing out loud, Miss Bella and the cats used to perform the same function. If they didn't like the man, they didn't let him anywhere near me. This is my mom. What exactly are your intentions? Oh, gorgeous. 29th of March, 2012. Home safe and sound, loaded to gills with IV antibiotics and heavy oral ones to take. So good to see Miss Bella Rosa, Penny and Zulu again. Home is where your fur family is, and the fishes too, which reminds me I need to get out there and clean my fish pond filters. I went to hospital on Tuesday with suspected septic arthritis from getting an infected foot from stepping on a bone, one of Miss Bella Rosa's. So scary shit, almost needed surgery, but I got slammed with IV antibiotics instead and sent home today. Still weak and tired and have to guard against any further swelling, etc., as it can lead to gangrene, and once in the joints, it is very dangerous. So scared it could recur. Good to be home and alive for now. Good luck, Tanya. Be well, said my auntie Sylvia Shine. And the other reason why I was scared about getting gangrene was I had an uncle, my Uncle Morris, whom everyone called Snow, lost a leg to gangrene, had a prosthetic leg. So there's kind of a fucking family history there. Another uncle of mine, my Uncle Bob, lost an eye in a pub fight over a female. So there is a history too. So I'm not going to lose my eyes or my feet or legs, if at all possible, people. But it was a bit touch and go that time. I woke up feeling much better, confronted with breakfast. So I asked the nurse to check if I can eat now and not require surgery after all. I think I may be okay to go home today. Foot still swollen, but less red and sore. What a relief. And Jared wrote, probably helped that you have kept off it for a couple of days. Walking around half of Brisbane probably didn't help it. Hope you're feeling better. And a couple of other friends hoped I would feel better too. But I had great hair with a fucked foot, trapsing around Murray. I'm intrepid. I'm also a bit stupid, had no idea that I had a massive fucking infection going down. 29th of March, 2011. Quiet day. Had my 3-week debrief with my new psychiatrist, who I started seeing in, I think it was October the previous year. He was totally amazed at all the current events in my life. It's nice to know I should feel the way I do right now, after all is said and done, ha 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 ha, I love psychiatrists. You pay them $300 per hour so they can be totally on your side. Seriously, my new doctor is amazing. Yes, he is. 29th of March 2010. It was a splendidly beautiful day yesterday, one of Mum's favourite kind of days in her most favourite place. Today I'm so very tired, beyond exhausted, could hardly keep my eyes open. It's been a very interesting time, now to celebrate the festival of my personal freedom and that of my people. Chag Sameach. That means it was Passover. 29th of March 2009. I keep doing these phony quizzes to discover untapped information on myself. So far, I've been told that I am attractive to hotties, laughing my ass off. Compared to W.B. Yeats, well, he is a lovely poet, and my life is like the Little Mermaid. And thus concludes today's readings of Even Date. And it took a long time and I was all over the place again, but had some funny little anecdotes to share with you, which I hope you found as amusing as I did, and saw the bathos or the humour in it, or the sweetness. And we've fought our way through the life of the Tanya on Good Friday. So be blessed, be happy in all your undertakings, and I'll be back tomorrow with another reading of Even Date. God's bless, as always, from my sacred space and Titania's realm. Bye for now.